Hello guys, Dr. Shingo Mufawa here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about homeostasis in the human body by using a past paper that was written by grade 12s in November of 2024. It is Life Sciences Paper 1 and we're going to answer question 1.5. As you can see here, grade 12s, the question says, the diagram below represents some structures involved in homeostasis in the human body. But before we dive into this question, let us go back to the definition of homeostasis. Homeostasis is the process of maintaining a constant internal environment within narrow limits despite changes in the internal and external environment. Now, if we are to look at this diagram, we see that it consists of two systems. So we have this system, which we call the endocrine system. So we have the endocrine system. And the endocrine system involves the secretion or production of hormones. Right? And these hormones are secreted directly into the blood. Right. The opposite system would be the exocrine system. So the exocrine system involves the secretion, we're going to say secretion of substances. And these substances can be fluids. All right? And these substances are transported through tubes, which are known as ducts. Okay, so now let us look at the other system or the other structure that is involved in homeostasis provided in this question. So we have this section of the skin. It is actually part of the skin. It's not the full structure of the skin. Please note that the skin is a massive organ. It consists of structures that are more than what we have here. So, as we can see here, it is actually providing us with the structures that are involved in thermoregulation. Okay, thermoregulation. So whenever we see the skin, we know that it is involved in the regulation of temperature between 36.6 to 37 degrees Celsius. All right. So now let us study this diagram so that we can be in a position to answer the question. So we're going to start by labeling part A. Part A is this little structure that we have here. Right, this little structure is called the pituitary gland. It's called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is also known as the hypophysis. Hypophysis. The pituitary gland actually produces hormones only. We need to note that it produces hormones only and nothing else. And we are actually going to say that examples of the hormones that are produced by the pituitary gland would be the growth hormone, would be luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, and prolactin. Right? So these are examples of the hormones that are produced by the pituitary gland. We also need to note that besides producing hormones, this pituitary gland also stores and then secretes another hormone which is called ADH. But this ADH is produced by the hypothalamus. All right, so the hypothalamus produces ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone, and this hormone is actually stored by the pituitary gland, which then secretes it directly into the blood. All right, next we're going to look at part D. All right, part D, I'm going to label it this way. All right, so this is our part D. Part D is this one. All right, so I'm going to label it this way. All right, so part D is called the pancreas. All right, part D is called the pancreas. All right, the pancreas produces two types of substances. All right, number one, we're going to say that the pancreas produces hormones. Two types of hormones. Right, number one is insulin. All right, when your blood sugar is high, the pancreas produces insulin. Right, when your blood sugar is low, the pancreas produces glucagon. All right, so these are the two hormones that are produced by the pancreas. All right, so besides the hormones, the pancreas also produces a fluid which is known as pancreatic juice. So it also produces pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice is actually a substance that contains some enzymes that are required for digestion. You would remember this from your grade 11 when you were looking at the digestive system. Now, let's move on to part F. All right, part F is this one. Right, part F is located just above. It's located on the kidney. It looks like fat, but it's not fat. It is a gland. It is a gland, and it produces two types of hormones. Right. So this one is the gland is called the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland. So the adrenal gland produces hormones only, and the first one or one of them would be adrenaline. Right, adrenaline. Adrenaline is commonly known as the fight and flight hormone. It actually prepares the body for fighting or for running away when we feel like we are in danger. Right? It also secretes another hormone which is known as aldosterone. Aldosterone is involved in the maintenance of or in the regulation of salt levels in the blood. So these are the two hormones that are produced by part F, which is our adrenal gland. And this one secretes hormones only. We're going to say it secretes hormones only. Right? We then move on to part E. As you can see, part E is this little structure that is shaped like a bean. Right? And this part is known as the kidney. We call it the kidney. Right? Maybe let me label it the other way so that we have enough space. So the kidney, I'm going to say this is the kidney. The kidney does not produce any hormones. What it does is that it is involved in filtering the blood so that waste products or nitrogenous waste products are actually released out of the body through urine or as urine. All right, and it is also involved in the regulation of water as well, right? Yeah, but it doesn't produce any hormones, right? So that is it regarding our endocrine system. So we have noted that the pituitary glands produces hormones only. It is actually producing hormones only, and our adrenal gland is also producing hormones only, but our pancreas is producing hormones and other fluids. Now let us look at the other structure that we are given here, that is said to be involved in homeostasis. So we have the part of a skin, or a small section of the skin, and we have this structure here, or this part which has been labeled B. This part is representing blood vessels, right? So it is representing blood vessels. So B, we're going to say it is representing, let's use a different color. Let's use this one. So it is representing blood vessels, and these blood vessels are the ones that would become wider through a process known as vasodilation, or they become narrow through a process called vasoconstriction, depending on whether the body is feeling hot or cold, right? So we also have another part which consists of some convolutions, right? This part, let's use red, right? So it has these convolutions at the base, right? And then it has as you can see, it has a tube, and this tube is called a duct, right? So as you can see here, we have a duct, and we have this part that's convoluted, and that one is called, part C is called the sweat gland. So as you can see now, we're talking about a gland, but this gland is producing sweat. All right. So because it is producing sweat, yes, it is a gland, but it is producing sweat, which is not a hormone. So this disqualifies it from being an endocrine gland. So it becomes an exocrine gland. All right. So it is producing sweat. So the sweat, after it's being produced here, right, the sweat will then move up the ducts, and then it will be released on the surface of the skin, like that. All right. So that's the way we could study the diagram. So now that we have studied the diagram, let us answer the questions. All right. So question 1.5.1. All right. We need to note that we must be in a position to understand the instructions that are provided by the examiner in each of the questions that we're going to answer. And my advice would be highlight the key words in your question, and also highlight the mark allocation, because the keywords are going to give you the instructions. They will tell you the expectations of the examiner, and also the mark allocation would show you how much information the examiner is expecting from you. So the keywords for this question would be write. You're writing letters, all right? It's letters only that you are writing here of parts that serve as endocrine glands only. And the word only is qualifying, right? So we want those parts that are serving as endocrine glands. So because we have already studied our diagram, it's going to be easy for us to find the answers for this question, because we're simply going to go to the diagram and we get the answers, right? Remember, we said the pituitary glands produces hormones only, and we also said the adrenal glands is also the adrenal gland is also producing hormones only. The pituitary gland also producing hormones only. So, right, we're going to say the answer. They want letters, so the answer is on A, right, and F. Okay, right. Part 1.5.2 is asking us to give, right? So we are giving this time. We are giving. All right, so this time we are giving letters. Let's use this one. So we are giving letters and names. So it's two things that we are going to provide for this question. All right, the first one will be the letter. The second one would be the name. Please, matrix grade 12s, you need to be vigilant when answering such a question. It is requiring you to provide two things. So it is the letter and the name. Normally, students would forget, that they are required to provide two things here, and they would just provide either the letters or the names. But I urge you to be vigilant here and be alert so that you don't lose marks. And this question is worth 4 marks. So let's make sure that we are vigilant when answering such questions. All right, so the letters and the names of the parts that are responsible for regulation of body temperature. So this is about temperature, thermoregulation, right? We have already identified these two parts. So we have this part, B, which we refer to as the blood vessels, and we also have part C, which we refer to as the sweat gland. So we're going to say it's part B, right, which is representing the blood vessels. And then we also have part C, which is representing the sweat gland. All right, then we move on to question 1.5.3, which is the last question. Right, this question is asking us to name, right? So we are supposed to provide a name, all right? A name the following with regard to regulation of water content in the blood, right? So they want us to identify the hormone that is secreted, right? So it's about the hormone that is secreted by part A. So it's about secretion, not production. And we noted earlier that the pituitary gland, right, we noted that this pituitary gland, right, stores and secretes this hormone ADH. So we're going to say, because we have already analyzed our question, or we've already studied our diagram, so it becomes easy. We just go back to the diagram and we get our answers. So our answer, they want the name, so the name is going to be ADH, right? So it's ADH, or you can say anti-diuretic hormone. All right, so that is part A. Now let's look at part B. Part B is asking for the target organ E. The target organ E, we have already identified E as the kidney, but let's just talk about what we mean by target organ. It is a target organ for the hormone that is secreted by the pituitary gland. Yes, this hormone is secreted by the is actually produced by the hypothalamus, but it's stored in the pituitary gland and then secreted into the blood by the pituitary gland. And it moves through the blood towards the kidney, right? Towards the kidney, which becomes the target organ. So the answer here is kidney. Right? So let's just look at how your examiner would mark this question so that you can score a total of 8 marks there. All right, so question 1.5.1 is worth 2 marks, right? So the first mark is there, the second one is there. They're asking for letters. If you write names, if you say for A there, instead of writing A, you say pituitary gland, you won't get the mark. For F, if you say adrenal gland, you also won't get the mark because the examiner was looking for letters. All right. Point 2, now you are giving a letter and a name. As you can see here, we have letter and name. So our marking points are on the letter and the name. So you can see this question is 4 marks. The first one is 2 marks. All right, question 1.5.3 is asking for the name only, right? It is asking for the name of the hormone. So firstly, they want a hormone for part A, so the tick is there. Part B, they want the name of the target organ E, which is kidney, and that gives us 2 marks for this question. And in total, we're getting 8 marks. I consider this question to be an easy question that can be answered by everybody, and everybody should be in a position to score the total of 8 or a total of 8 marks for this question. So if you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with your colleagues, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you all in the next video. Bye.